morning and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Salahuddin A. Ismail, and today we will be discussing about the lesson 6 of this subject. For the overview of our lesson, this module accounts for the theories of child development and learning which serve as constructs of early literacy and as framework of reading and writing developments among children. Home literacy is given emphasis with respect to emergent literacy. For the learning outcomes of this lesson, at the end of this lesson, the students can define language and emergent and early literacy, determine the changes on the views about emergent literacy, explain the theories of learning and early literacy, identify the theories of reading and writing. For the learning content, language and literacy. Language development refers to children's emerging abilities to understand and use language. Language skills are receptive, the ability to listen to and understand language, and expressive, the ability to use language to communicate ideas, thoughts, and feelings. Children's language ability affects learning and development in all areas, especially emerging literacy. In short, my dear classmates, language and literacy is relatedness to each other. Language is what we have used to communicate someone, express thoughts, and many others. With that, language emerged learning literacy. Through language, their ability to listen, catch up the words you have expressing, they will get it and it affects their thinking. They become developed in any fields of literacy. Language and literacy skills can develop in any language, and for the most part, they develop first in the child's home language. Supporting development of the home language helps prepare young children for learning English. Head Start and Early Head Start program must promote language and literacy goals for all children that are aged culturally and linguistically appropriate and responsiveness. Yes, it is true. Language developed first in our home. If you remembered our JED 116 and MTB MLE subject, we have tackled and discussed further about language development of the children. Many factors can be influenced to their development, and if I'm not mistaken, we have very impressive expansion of those factors in that subject. Furthermore, language can help the children learn English. Since we are Magindanaon and obviously our students' first language is Magindanaon, therefore, while they are learning English subject, they will develop their second language, and that is English. It must have a preparation for those children who are about to adopt English language. Head Start and Early Head Start must promote a goal that design and provide reading development for the children. Take note, Early Child Start serves for a pregnant woman, and Head Start are for 3 and 5 years old. That was a program intended for the language learning of a children in English subject. Definition of emergent literacy. In 1996, Mary Clay was the first one who used the term emergent literacy. Clay 1996 based emergent literacy on the assumption that a child acquires some knowledge about language, reading, and writing even before attending demonstrated by young children. Clay asserted that literacy development begins early in life and is ongoing. Further, Taylor 1987 described emergent literacy as the early sign of reading and writing demonstrated by young children, even before they take formal instruction to reading and writing, and such early signs and ways are recognized by most adults. Taylor 1982 viewed literacy as the result of children's involvement in reading activities facilitated by literate adults. Mary Clay was the first one who gives an interpretation about definition of emergent literacy. As according to her, it is the assumptions where the children acquire ideas, knowledge, and information about language, meaning they are about to learn language that is came from their surrounding. Also in reading, children acquire reading skills in some read books or materials. It was also an assumption of writing through interpreting, copywriting those languages they have been seen or read. On the other hand, Taylor gives a piece of internalization and interpretations about emergent literacy. Emergent literacy, as according to Taylor, it was a sign where the children started to learn in reading and writing. This sign was observed by the adults, and maybe, yes, it was true because I have a young brother and he's about to develop his reading. Because of the interest to learn, he also develops his writing through writing any lines he wanted to. So, there are the signs that the children really wanted to learn. They emerge literacy before they learn formally to the literacy. So now let us proceed to transitions on the perspective of literacy. James has always defined literacy. James defines literacy instructions. These instructions are marked by number 1, basic literacy, which emphasizes the reading and writing of your learners to construct meaning for themselves. Number 2, socio-cultural literacy, which emphasizes the importance of social interactions of children to construct cultural specific meanings and to demonstrate literacy practices as social events and cultural phenomena. Number 3, functional literacy, which emphasizes the use of technology for instruction and literacy, and the young learners' use of technology to produce meaning. These changes create new perspectives about emergent literacy and early literacy instruction as illustrated in Table 1, meaning transition of literacy always observed. It may be having a chances, but for the development of oneself. So, we have 3 perspectives of literacy: basic literacy, social cultural literacy, and functional literacy. When we say basic literacy, they are going to have meant according to their internalization or understanding about what they have been encountered. All the social cultural literacy talks about social cultural interaction of children. It's demonstrations about cultural practices of their community and many things about social views. And lastly, the functional literacy. It focuses on giving an expansion understanding of technology. In this time, children are having an emergence of literacy.
So here are the examples of the transitions on the perspectives of emergent literacy concepts on emergent literacy. I believe every one of us was downloaded this learning module so that we can be guided. So we have here the word before and now. Before stands for the emergence of literacy, meaning to say before the emergence of literacy, and now the emergence of literacy. Before, early literacy was somewhat neglected. Now, a great deal of attention to literacy development in early childhood. Little attention given to a child's literacy development before formal schooling that was in before. And now, acquisition of information about literacy begins at birth and continues at the course of early childhood. Before, assumed that the beginning of literacy was in grade 1, but now, development of literacy in child's earliest years. Another one, before reading instruction was ignored in preschool education, but now emphasis on oral language development and preparation for reading. Before, there's no advocacy for formal reading instruction in early childhood, but now capitalize on child's existing knowledge, information about literacy, and reading and writing experiences was developed. Those are some of the transitions happens on the perspectives of emergence of literacy concepts on emergent literacy. Again, just refer to your learning module on transitions on the perspectives of emergent literacy concepts on emergent literacy for further information. And now, let us proceed to the child development theories that support early literacy. The first theories presented here was Rousseau 1962. On his theory, emphasizes child's learning unfolds naturally learning through curiosity, meaning to say the children was learned through their curiosity. So that we have to apply strategies, and that is child's readiness to learn little adult intervention, meaning to say it focuses on reading concepts. And best activities to be applied, allowing children to grow and learn with the freedom to be themselves. And the skills shall be developed is natural development of skills, individual ways of learning, curiosity. And that's all for the theory of Rousseau. So now we will proceed to theories of Montessori 1965. It emphasizes that children need early systematic training in mastering one skill after another auto-education, meaning step-by-step learning in mastering about skills. And the strategies can be used: specific concept meeting, specific objective, designing activities, and experiences for learning. And for the activities can be used, allowing students to use manipulative toys, working carefully, designed and specific materials for specific skills. And the skills shall be developed are sub-concept, self-correction, interdependent learning, and mastery of one skill after another. Those are the things can be brought by the theory of Montessori. So we have here another theorist, Dewey 1966. Emphasis of his theory, child-centered, is built around the interest of the child. Child learners best through play because of social interaction. And for the strategies can be utilized, allowing the time for play and learning, providing a relaxed atmosphere, informal activities for learning. And for the activities can be used are manipulative toys, arts, music, story reading, free and outdoor play, snack, rest, circle time, informal reading, and writing. And the skills shall be provided are social skills, emotional and physical development, informal reading, and writing. Those are the applications and benefits of the theory of Dewey 1966. Another theorist was familiar to us, and he is Piaget. On his theory emphasizes acquiring knowledge by interacting with the world, active participants in their own learning. And for the strategies to be used, providing real-life setting and materials, opportunity to play, explore and experiment, and to use their curiosity to help themselves. And for the activities can be used, natural problem-solving situations, playing, exploring, and experimenting, and cooperating teachers and peers in planning, evaluating, learning. And for the skills can be developed, active construction for his learning, problem solving, playing, exploration, experimentation, and curiosity, and spontaneity, decision making, social interaction. Next to that was Rowell 1974. It emphasizes that emphasis on the fullest benefits of playing to learn requires adult guidance and direction and a planned environment. And for the strategies can be used, providing manipulative materials to learn concepts, allowing silker time, which is an opportunity to see and to learn new ideas through discussion. For the activities can be utilized, teachers facilitated activities, guided play, manipulative for learning centered, certain rather concepts, and providing opportunity for circle time singing. And for the skills can be developed, psychomotor skills, shapes, colors and size, recognition, guided play, singing, obedience, and discipline. And for Pestalozzi 1979 theory, it emphasizes that natural learning within informal institution, natural potential of a child develops through senses. And the strategies that providing informal instruction, manipulative experiences, and learning about them through the use of senses. And for the activities can be used, informal activities that eventually lead to learning, manipulating objects and learning about them through touch and smell recognition rather, language skills. And for the skills, shapes, color, and size recognition. And the last theorist was very familiar to us, and he is Vygotsky 1961. On his theory, emphasizes learning takes place when child interacts with peers and adults in a social setting as they act upon the environment. Children learn by internalizing activities conducted in the world around them. Further strategies can be used, providing meaningful and interactive activities that allow a child to internalize, exposing a child to actively interact with others, engaging in functional and interesting learning experience. And for the activity can be used story reading, story retelling, direct listening thinking activities, shared book experiences, dialogues, conversational, social functions of reading and writing activities, communicative functions of language. And the skills shall be developed are communication skills, reading and writing skills, oral language skills, social skills, internalization of skills. And those are the implications of the theorist of Vygotsky. And at the same time, those theorists will help us to develop our child in early literacy, especially we are teaching in elementary grade students.
So now let us proceed to the constructivist model. From these learning theorists, Froebel to Vygotsky, concrete teaching models have evolved and have been continuously modified to meet the needs of emergent learners and to develop their literacy skills. However, it is important to note that literacy of the 20th century has paved a way to new literacy studies which would gradually lead to redefining literacy, to redefining the perspectives for such new definition, and that would significantly lead to redirect the principles of early literacy, that is to examine the literacy behavior of young learners and the characteristics of emergent readers and writers. The constructivist model brought a literacy with respected skills that can be affect the learning process of the learners. It gives more chances for the learners to meet their needs in terms of learning. In the 20th century was a new introduction of literacy, which can be affect the principles of early literacy and examine the learning behavior and characteristics of learners, which can having a impact to the readers and writers. On the other views, Christie 1990 determined the rising literacy demands of the 20th century and described a more complex phenomenon contrasted to the literacy of the earlier period. She emphasized the greater level of sophistication in literacy, such as new kinds of writing, new genres which are necessary for new knowledge and new ways of thinking. Christie 1990 determined how does literacy arises in the 20th century, and it was contrasted to the earlier period. Well, in this demand of literacy brought sophisticated expansion of literacy. When we say sophisticated, it emphasizes the highly development of a literacy or a complex that may be brought by the literacy. She says that in terms of writing, there is an improvement of literacy and have a new genre of ways of thinking of learners. They have constructivist in literacy in some ways. On the views of Vygotsky 1978 stressed that knowledge is socially constructed by interacting with others in a variety of experiences. Moreover, social interaction allows emergent learners to construct their own knowledge and view themselves as members of a community of learners as they interact with their parents and other literate adults or with their peers. On the other views, Vygotsky 1978 expresses his thoughts that through interacting with other people, knowledge can be socially developed and progress. It has development through interactions, and literacy can be promoted with those actions. In fact, he says that social interaction, learners can construct their own ideas about what they have encountered, and emergence of literacy can be boosted at the same case. This may be constructed either between the parents and the learners, the community and the learners, their peer, and anybody. On the other hand, the philosophy of Dewey undergreens constructivist education, a view on teaching and learning as a process of reconstruction of experiences. He developed a strict criterion for determining educative experience which must lead to positive growth. An educative experience must be continuous, provoke, change, and emphasize the importance of the participation of learners in the formation of purposes which direct his activities in the learning process. A philosophy named Dewey gives support to the constructivist educations. John Dewey emphasizes that teaching and learning are the innovation of experiences or reconstruction of experiences, where your experiences can help you to develop your education. In the constructivist model, skills are taught at the point when they are likely to be useful for kids. As part of an authentic literacy task, there are four distinct advantages of the constructivist model. Number 1. Literacy construction embedded in meaningful social contexts. Meaning, literacy wrote as many impacts as we socialize in different contexts. It has a very good results as we can able to embed or say something. For instance, a learning. If we set up the learning in very nice way, we can achieve good output. It can be meaningful at all. Number 2. Students' exploration of the function of literacy. Meaning, students can able to expand their understanding about the functions of literacy. They can have a chance to discover and emerge literacy as they focus on it. Engagement or the so-called explorations that involve students are very good manner. Give your learners discover more about literacy and just facilitate them on how to process it as well. Number 3 is student-centered, and of course, students are always be a center of your instructions because they are the one who will aiming to learn more about literacy and anything as well. They will grow as human. You always put instructions to the head of your students and help them realize the real meaning of education. Let your students process their learning and you will only facilitate them. The fourth one, and I think it is the last one, recognize different life experiences, culture schemata in the meaning-making process. In a constructivist perspective, young learners set their own goals for literacy learning and monitor their own progress in achieving those goals. It only means that learners shall recognize the experiences and schemata that are existing in this locality or in their locality or community they have belonged, even in an institution they have been deployed. They are the one who will discover those things and make their own understanding about it. Let them handle the learning process with your guidance and support, and let them set their own goals to achieve such things. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed to constructivism in education. Constructivism encourages matching the child's developmental to the types of knowledge being taught and actively involving the learner. Students should have a contextuality, meaningful experiences. The goal of constructivist learning is self-sufficiency, shared exchange of social relations, and empowerment. Meaning to say, a constructivism education encourages the learners to learn better matches to the level of their standard, which the students are involved in the dialogue. The students must have a fruitful experience as they process their learning. That is how constructivists are wishing for. In a constructivist classroom setup, the teacher is not the supreme professor or knowledge who transfer knowledge into a student. Rather, a teacher is an enabler who encourages students to raise questions, develop solutions, and defend their ideas. The construct of a teacher varies from that of the student. The role of the teacher is to appreciate the unique perception that the students contributes and to create more experiences for the student. This only means generalist. In a constructivist classroom, learners are the one who will process the learning and the teachers are the one who guide and facilitate the learners. They are the one who encourage the learners to learn effectively. Raise their questions and then let them expand it until they have learning a lot. Teacher will always motivate the learners for their performances and active participation in the class. Teachers shall appreciate the uniqueness of his or her learners to their own understanding and perception that leads them into reality and makes more experiences while learning. So, I think generalists, that was end of discussion. Before we end this informative online discussion, may I request everyone to make KWL chart to check your own understanding about what we have discussed here. Alright, I think everyone has learning. Thank you for your precious time. This is Salahuddin A. Ismail saying that continue learning with a different manner because experiences can make you learn as well. Have a good afternoon, everyone.